Hello. I did my passion project. Looking a little bit further into censorship for what our kids are reading. Something I was thinking a lot about before our module on censorship actually ever came up. I'd been having some conversations with my psych professor and just kind of chewing it over and actually doing some light research on my own, Googling, reading forums, just kind of seeing what different people had to say on how closely we should be monitoring what kids are reading. I know there's a lot of discussion, and it's pretty normal for parents to monitor what movies their kids are watching and what video games they're playing and what they're kind of doing on the internet. But books, I personally kind of was like, I don't know if we need to censor it. If they're reading it, it's kind of just a net good. And a lot of people do feel that way, but there's a mixed bag of opinions out there. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what I found on the internet and kind of what I personally believe and different opinions I've come across. Forgot to start my timer. Oops. Anyway. Libraries are crazy. No, in a good way. In a good way. You ever feel that when you're walking into a library? It's just like totally free. You can just go in there. You can just take like pretty much just anything in the library, just totally for free. You can just take it home with you. It's wild. And there's some pretty cool stuff in libraries too, some pretty adult stuff as well. And despite that, there's no age restrictions on any public library materials. That means anybody can just go into the public library who has a library card and they can get whatever they want. Doesn't matter how old they are. Doesn't matter if they're emotionally mature, if they're ready for it, whatever. Anything that is in the public library, they can access. This is from the American Library Association website. The American Library Association opposes all attempts to restrict access to library services, materials, and facilities based on the age of library users. Yeah, librarians are freaking awesome. They believe in intellectual freedom. Maybe not all librarians agree with this. I'm sure plenty of librarians try to steer young people that have stumbled into different sections away. But if somebody goes in there, they find something they really want, there's no parent there to tell them they can't have it. They can check it out. You know what's in public libraries? Crazy stuff like this. This is one of my favorite graphic novels. Maybe the title's backwards for you guys, I can't tell. But it's called Rat Queens. It's written by a guy named Curtis Wiebe. It's a little kind of misogynist. The way the ladies are dressed, they're kind of busty. They do, there's one of the characters constantly eating magic mushrooms. There's a lot of graphic violence, killing, a lot of swearing. But these comics are awesome. Now, do I want to teach it in my high school English class? Probably not. That seems too risky. But all the editions of these comics are available in the graphic novel section of tons of local public libraries, which means that if 11, 10-year-old kid rides his bike over to the library with a library card, he can check all of these out, and the librarian's not going to say nothing to him. So I think that's very interesting. I personally love it. But it's very interesting with this whole censorship thing, Where do we draw the line? Get into that in a bit. Question. Yes, Dwight, what is it? How do we decide what to keep on our own shelves? Do we have full control? I said this was only a semi-deep dive. Full control about what you keep on your shelves? We should ask Sarah. I don't know who makes those decisions. I do know some things to consider when we decide what to keep on our shelves. Like I said, these graphic novels, a little bit of illicit drug use, and they kind of glamorize it a little bit. Is that going to keep me from having them on the shelf? I don't know. What about the nipple conundrum? There's boy nipples in there. That's fine. What about the lady nipples? Is that pornographic? Trans nipples, I imagine in some states there would be some pretty serious objections to that. The point is, I don't know if I would want to have these in my classroom. I would love to have these in my classroom. Because I think that a lot of people that don't see themselves as readers, or they don't think that there's books out there for them, they don't think books are interesting or fun or can be as good as like videos and TV and movies. I mean, a book that breaks a lot of the rules of the stuff that we are reading in classrooms could change that person's relationship to books. So I would love to have these in my classroom. Do I think I can justify it if somebody says these books have illegal drugs, nudity, sexual implications, excessive drinking, graphic violence? I think it's going to be hard for me to justify that, to have in my public school classroom. Where it gets a little gray is, can I recommend these books to students? Say, I don't have these in my classroom. I can't have them in my classroom. I'm not going to give you them, but the local library's got them. You can order them on Amazon. There's no age. They don't ask for your ID when you're ordering a mature book. It's not porn. It's not erotica. It's not a pornographic magazine. It's not. You don't have to put your birthday in to get these. So can I recommend? I think yes, because I think one of my goals as an English teacher is to make my students have a positive relationship with reading. And there's a student who this is the kind of content that he might be really interested in, and he might feel like, oh, there is a place for me in the world of reading. I feel like that's my duty to let them know. This is another one of my favorite graphic novels. It's called Orkstain. It's kind of gross. It's almost bordering on horror. There's a lot of penises in it. But it's also the kind of thing that I would have absolutely loved as a teenager. And it took me way too long to find this type of stuff. It took me to well into my adulthood before somebody showed me this world of like adult graphic novels that were awesome and like gritty. Anyway, this is for the nipple conundrum. So let's talk about what can and possibly should be banned from public schools. Pornography? You want that in our public schools? Probably not. Just look at my little friend here. I think we can all pretty much agree on that. Now, in terms of what we describe as pornography, we're probably going to be pretty wide spectrum. I think that's a conversation for another presentation, though. Like we said, not so deep dive. Give you a little bit of what I found. There's a couple of legal cases that have set some standards, like Board of Education versus PICO in 1982. This one established some criteria regarding what content could be banned from public schools, and it was content that is obscene, defamatory, engenders hatred, or incites violence. Okay. Engenders hatred, incites violence. That's bad. Seems pretty simple enough. Thumbs up. Easy peasy. What is it, Drake? Yeah, obscene. Yeah, okay. You can see how that one might need a little more attention. There's another legal case. Miller versus California. Under the Miller test, material is considered obscene if it lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. If an average person applying contemporary community standards would find the work appeals to the prurient interest, and if it depicts sexual conduct in a patently offensive way. Yeah, those are some words, aren't they? They are words. They are definitely words. Prurient, I had to look this one up, is characterized by like excessively sexual interest or thoughts. I don't know, what it was considered excessively sexual. So again, they think we're going to run into a pretty significant spectrum issue here. So I don't know about obscenity. I mean, it sounds like we're talking about the pornographic, you'll know it when you see it situation, but beyond that, I mean, I think it's going to be pretty subjective. It's not that useful, but these are the legal, this is the legal kind of background here. All these Moms for Liberty groups, they're suing and challenging books based on their First Amendment right, which, I don't know. It's so complicated, honestly. Like I said, it's not so deep a dive. I tried, but it's legal mumbo jumbo. It changes from state to state. It's a real headache, and that's kind of where I'm at. Is this dog? What do we do? I got some suggestions. Just make bold choices that are aligned with your values. Simple enough. But we have to be ready to defend and justify our choices. Like I said about the rat queens, am I going to be able to justify? I'm certainly not going to be able to justify teaching that. I mean, the educational content is just not important enough to get us past all of the issues. So am I going to be able to justify having it on the shelf in the classroom for kids to access? I think, like I said earlier, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for me. Maybe years down the line when I've been in a school for a while, I've got a really good relationship with the administration and the community. I don't know. Maybe I can start to push a little bit. As a new teacher, hell no. That's impossible to justify. Orc stain, where they use dried up pieces of penis for money. No, I don't think that one's going to have a place on my shelf, unfortunately. I wish it could. I wish we could trust the kids to make the decisions about if the content was appropriate for them. But the reality is we're going to face criticism, backlash, parental challenges. We've got to protect ourselves. This is my next piece of advice. Make sure we've got a good relationship with our administrators, because they're the ones that we're going to need to have our backs if we do face the challenges, I think. And that means they're going to have to understand our justification for the choices that we're making, the content that we're teaching, the content we're keeping in our classrooms. If they're open to learning more, and they need to understand more of why we're making the choices we are. We've got to provide them with the research and information about censorship and why intellectual freedom is so critical, especially for the young people we're serving. I mean, we got to show why the choices we're making are good for the students, I think is probably one of the most important things. The American Library Association website is a great resources for us as we're moving forward, and these book challenges and bans are increasing in number. They're getting potentially more outlandish with the types of content they're challenging. I mean, sure, it's a lot of LGBTQ, QI plus stuff right now, but that could change. It's hard to know what's going to be the next trigger for censorship, I think. Um, so, be ready. Explore the Library Association website. Find out how different people are thinking about this topic. It's kind of what I've been doing. I feel like don't let the censorship issue scare you either. You can't be scared to include a book in the curriculum that says the word fuck. You know, just got to be ready to deal with it too, and you got to help I think it's important to help kids process material like that because they're gonna freaking face this stuff in the real world. They're gonna get exposed to it eventually. And I think if they're exposed to it with a thoughtful, trusted adult first, then that's gonna be awesome for them in the long run. I mean, is it supposed to be the parents in a lot of cases? I mean, that's best case scenario. I think that's kind of the dream, but that's not always going to be how it goes. Some kids are shy with their parents. They're embarrassed. They're uncomfortable. Sometimes it's not safe. Whatever the case may be. My parents were great. I didn't want to freaking talk to them about a lot of this stuff. I was shy. I didn't want to let them know. If I'd been exposed to some of the stuff in school with a teacher that I thought was kind of looking out for me, not judging me, maybe it would have been helpful for me. I don't know. Anyway, that's my little spiel on censorship, my not so deep dive. Hope it was helpful. Don't be scared.